In March of 1996, senior psychiatric nurse Helena van der Merwe submitted her final shift report to Kempton Park Hospital administration. The document contained 23 pages of patient observations, medication logs, and one entry that was immediately removed from official records. On the night of March 14th, she documented 89 patients across 4 isolated wards, performing synchronized physical movements within a 6-hour window. No inter-ward communication was architecturally possible. Her report included environmental sensor data, electromagnetic field readings peaking at 78 milligauss with no identifiable power source in the facility. 3 weeks later, van der Merwe resigned. She refused all interview requests for 17 years. Kempton Park Hospital opened in October 1943 as Johannesburg's primary psychiatric treatment facility. The complex occupied 42 acres in what was then the eastern outskirts of the city. Initial construction included 6 patient wards, administrative buildings, a surgical wing, and staff housing for 73 employees. Provincial health records indicate the facility was designed to house 300 patients maximum. By 1952, census data showed 417 patients in residence. The South African Medical Association conducted 3 separate reviews between 1954 and 1961. All 3 reports recommended immediate infrastructure upgrades and staff expansion. No modifications were implemented. Dr. Anton Pretorius served as chief psychiatrist from 1967 to 1989. His personnel file, partially declassified in 2018, contains performance reviews, budget requests, and 17 formal complaints submitted to the Provincial Health Department. The complaints document equipment failures, medication shortages, and what Pretorius termed unexplained patient clustering events. In a 1973 memorandum, he described finding 42 patients from Ward B assembled in the facility courtyard at 3:47 a.m. Security logs confirmed all ward doors remained locked. No staff member reported opening them. Pretorius requested an architectural survey to identify structural breaches. The request was denied due to budgetary constraints. The first documented mass incident occurred in November 1978. Night shift orderly Peter Bosman recorded the event in his supervisor report. At approximately 2:15 a.m., he conducted standard rounds in Ward C. All patients were asleep in their assigned beds. At 2:52 a.m., he returns to the same ward for scheduled medication distribution. He opens the ward common room access doors and observes that all 31 patients are standing in vertical positions facing the northwestern corner of the room. Bosman initiates verbal contact protocols by calling patient names from his assignment roster. 0 patients demonstrate auditory responsiveness or modify their orientation. He advances to within 2 meters of the nearest patient group. No individuals track his position or adjust their visual focus from the wall surface. He activates the emergency communication system and requests immediate physician assessment. Dr. Marieke Jaubert arrives at the ward at 3:08 a.m. By this time, all patients had returned to their beds. None showed any recollection of leaving their rooms. Jaubert ordered comprehensive neurological assessments for all 31 patients in Ward C. Results showed no abnormalities in brain function, no shared medication interactions, and no environmental toxins present in blood work. Between 1978 and 1991, incident reports classified as coordinated behavioral anomalies increased by 463%. Security officer Johannes Maleka maintained a personal log separate from official documentation. His notebook, provided to investigative journalists in 2004, contains dated entries describing patients in different wards adopting identical postures, walking in synchronized patterns through hallways, and congregating at specific locations on the grounds despite being confined to separate buildings. Malika's entries note that these events occurred exclusively between the hours of 2 a.m. and 4:30 a.m., No incidents were recorded during daylight hours. In 1985, the South African Institute for Electrical Engineering received a request from Kempton Park Hospital administration. The hospital reported intermittent power fluctuations affecting medical equipment in wards A, C, and E. A four-person technical team spent 3 days conducting electrical surveys. Their report identified electromagnetic field readings ranging from 42 to 91 milligauss in multiple locations throughout the facility. Standard electromagnetic background in hospital environments averages between 0.5 and 3 milligauss. The engineering team could not identify the source. They recommended a comprehensive rewiring of the entire complex. Estimated cost exceeded the hospital's annual operating budget. The recommendation was filed but never acted upon. Dr. Sarah Ndlovu joined the hospital staff in January 1992 as a clinical psychologist. Her contract included research responsibilities, documenting treatment outcomes for patients with schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. In a 2011 interview with the South African Journal of Psychiatry, Ndlovu described her experience during a March 1994 night shift. She was completing patient evaluations in the Ward E office when all overhead lighting failed simultaneously at 2:34 a.m. The workspace loses electrical illumination. She retrieves her high-lumen emergency torch from the desk drawer. 8 seconds elapse. Emergency backup systems restore power to the fluorescent lighting array. Visual access through the office observation window reveals that all patients in the ward common area have repositioned themselves into a geometric configuration. 17 patients now occupy positions forming 3 concentric circular patterns. She activates the office documentation camera and captures photographic evidence. Post-incident measurement analysis shows patients maintain spacing intervals of 0.97 meters between each individual with less than 2% variance. Ndlovu exits the office and enters the common area to conduct direct assessment. She issues standard verbal prompts to multiple patients. No patients demonstrate responsive behavior or acknowledge her presence. Their visual orientation remains fixed forward. This non-responsive state persists for 4 minutes and 12 seconds before patients gradually resume normal interaction protocols. She submitted the photographs with her incident report. The images were removed from her file within 72 hours. Hospital administration provided no explanation. The maintenance department logs, archived in the Gauteng Provincial Records Office, contain recurring work orders between 1989 and 1996. Electricians were dispatched to investigate malfunctioning surveillance cameras in patient wards on 37 separate occasions. In 29 cases, camera systems failed between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. Technicians documented that cameras would cease recording despite receiving adequate power. When equipment was removed and tested in laboratory conditions, all units functioned normally. Replacement cameras installed in the same locations exhibited identical failure patterns within 2 to 6 weeks. On the night of September 3, 1995, Security Supervisor David Kumalo was monitoring the central surveillance station. At 2:41 a.m., cameras in wards B, C, D, and E simultaneously stopped transmitting. Kumalo dispatched 2 security officers to conduct physical checks. Officer Rebecca Mulfer reached Ward C first. Her radio transmission at 2:49 a.m. reported all patients standing in their doorways facing the hallway. She described their positions as perfectly aligned, despite the corridor being 73 meters long with 13 patient rooms. Officer Mulf requested backup. By the time additional staff arrived at 2:56 a.m., patients had returned to their rooms. Surveillance systems resumed normal operation at 3:02 a.m. The gap in recorded footage totaled 21 minutes across 4 wards. Provincial health authorities announced the closure of Kempton Park Hospital in April 1996. Official statements cited aging infrastructure, budgetary constraints, and the opening of newer psychiatric facilities in the Johannesburg metro area. The closure timeline projected 18-month patient transfer process. Medical records indicate the final patients were relocated to alternative facilities by October 1996. Hospital was officially decommissioned on November 30th, 1996. Security contracts were terminated. Utilities were disconnected. The property was transferred to Provincial Asset Management for future disposition. In February 1997, municipal police received reports of lights visible in the abandoned hospital complex after dark. Officers conducted 2 separate inspections. They found no evidence of electrical service, no signs of unauthorized entry, and no vagrant activity. The reports continued. Between March 1997 and June 2000, Kempton Park municipal records document 41 calls reporting illumination in the abandoned buildings. A private security firm was contracted to patrol the perimeter in January 1998. Their nightly logs note no suspicious activity and no light sources detected during their rounds. The civilian reports persisted. Former staff maintenance worker Eli Sithole provided testimony to a documentary film crew in 2008. He stated that in May 1998, he was contracted to retrieve remaining medical equipment from the facility. He entered Ward C at approximately 11 a.m. with 2 assistants. The ward had been without electrical power for 17 months. Sithole described entering the common room and observing that every chair in the space was arranged in 3 concentric circles. The configuration matched the geometric pattern Dr. Ndlovu had photographed 4 years earlier. Sithole and his crew left the equipment and exited the building. He refused to return to the site. In December 2000, the Provincial Department of Public Works issued a demolition contract. The hospital complex was to be completely razed and the land cleared for future development. Demolition began in January 2001. Work crews reported no unusual occurrences during the 8-week demolition process. The contract specified that all building materials were to be removed from the site and that foundation structures were to be excavated and hauled away. Satellite imagery from March 2001 shows complete removal of above-ground structures. By May 2001, the site had been graded and left vacant. The land remained undeveloped for 11 years. Between 2001 and 2012, the 42-acre parcel was listed for commercial sale 6 times. No purchases were completed. Real estate records provide no explanation for the failed transactions. In 2013, the property was converted to a public green space. Current zoning designations prohibit construction of any permanent structures on the site. In 2014, a graduate student in electrical engineering at the University of Johannesburg conducted electromagnetic field mapping across metropolitan Johannesburg as part of her thesis research. Her survey included the former Kempton Park Hospital site. Published findings show electromagnetic readings at the location averaging 63 milligauss, more than 20 times higher than surrounding areas. The student noted that readings were consistent across the entire 42-acre footprint and showed no correlation with underground utility lines, cellular towers, or other conventional electromagnetic sources. Her thesis committee requested additional site visits to verify the data. 3 subsequent measurements, conducted in different seasons, confirmed the anomalous readings. The student's thesis was accepted in 2015. The electromagnetic anomaly remains unexplained. Former nurse Helena van der Merwe agreed to a single recorded interview in 2013. She was 71 years old. The interview was conducted by researchers from the University of Cape Town's Department of Psychology. Van der Merwe described her final shift on March 14, 1996. She stated that at 2:20 a.m., she observed 89 patients across wards A, B, C, and E engaged in synchronized movement patterns. She described patients in Ward A walking in clockwise circles. Patients in Ward B walked counterclockwise. Ward C and E showed patients standing in geometric formations identical to those documented by Dr. Ndlovu 2 years earlier. Van der Merwe was the only staff member on duty with access to all 4 wards that night. She confirmed that architectural design made visual or auditory communication between the wards impossible. The wards were separated by distances ranging from 80 to 200 meters and were located in different buildings. Van der Merwe measured electromagnetic field levels using a handheld meter from the maintenance department. Her readings showed 78 milligauss in Ward C standard hospital environments measure below 3 milligauss. She submitted her report at the end of her shift. 3 hours later, she was called to a meeting with hospital administration and legal counsel. She was offered a financial severance package on the condition that she sign a non-disclosure agreement regarding the events of March 14th. She accepted. The hospital announced its closure 1 month later. Van der Merwe died in 2016. The non-disclosure agreement expired with her death. No architectural drawings of Kempton Park Hospital exist in public archives. The Provincial Department of Public Works states that all construction documents were destroyed during routine records purging in 2003. No patient medical records from the facility have been located. The South African Department of Health claims all psychiatric records were transferred to successor institutions during the 1996 closure. None of those institutions have produced any documentation. Security footage recorded between 1985 and 1996 remains classified under Section 12 of the South African National Archives Act. Requests for declassification have been denied on the basis of patient privacy protections. 89 patients in 4 architecturally isolated wards performed synchronized movements within a 6-hour window in March 1996. Environmental sensors documented electromagnetic readings of 78 milligauss with no identifiable power source. 14 years after demolition, the same location shows electromagnetic field readings 20 times higher than surrounding areas. What mechanism explains coordinated behavior in isolated populations, persistent electromagnetic anomalies at a demolished site, and the systematic removal of all architectural and medical documentation from official archives?